So part of that, the growth, honey, we get asked a lot about kids, family. And again, you don't get a manual when we're raising all these crazy kids. So for Tammy and I,
and we didn't get one as a kid to how to interact with our parents, right?
So we come from totally different backgrounds. Okay, my mom and dad married, stayed married. So I was raised in that kind of stable home environment. Tammy can tell her story, completely different environment. There is no right and wrong, but it certainly changed the dynamic. And so my dad, my mom, great, super loving. My dad, entrepreneur, but he was tough. I mean, my parents were Nebraska farmers. They moved to Denver. And my parents were cheap. They were tough. My dad was super tough. We had no relationship until I was like 18. Literally, just you had to get straight A's. There were no conversations. And
how was he towards your mom?
Well, he was super loving towards my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were in it, man. They were really, really strong. So I got to see that example.
You did, right? They danced together a little bit. He would grab her booty a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
They cooked together. Yeah. And she was stay-at-home mom. Now my sister Christy was a special needs young lady. So my mom made that sacrifice to raise her, right? Mm-hmm. But my dad massively respected that, and my mom ran the show. Like my dad thought he ran the show, but
when your mom said so.
When those things, little conflicts came up, like he was scared to death of little, 5'1", 90-pound Shirley, right? Which is great. Was great for me to see that. I love that. So, and I think it really helped me build some reverence for women and for my future spouse, right?
But I grew up with a single mom, right? And we were immigrants to this country, and my mom didn't know the language, learned the language, brought me here when I was 2, and we figured it out. But I didn't have a model of a traditional family, and my mom, was a tough love mom. I knew she loved me, but the word love was not the 4-letter word used in our house. There was commitment, and we committed, and you're committed to your family. So it took a little bit, right? And so I didn't grow up with, public displays of affection. And candidly, I had daddy issues for many years and had to go talk with a therapist about that and talk that out. And Bernie's not a therapist. That's not his profession. And he's super smart and he knows a lot about things and he's a great listener. But, I needed to work a lot of those items out. But so now coming into a blended family, what we decided we were going to do is we were going to show love. We were going to show love in, the hand on the lap, or on occasion I'll do one of these to his ear. But we'll give ourselves, we never leave the house without a kiss in the morning. And we also always sit next to each other when we're at dinner. We always sit next to each other when we're at church. And, I think that's really important too, is showing your kids that it's okay to have public displays of affection, hand holding. I don't think you grew up with the hand holding, because when we first met, I'd grab his hand and it would be fine if we were at home, but then in public, it would be very kind of, stoic. And now we hold hands together and it's really cute. We dance. Yeah. And I will say, we've also learned that showing love is not always agreeing with each other, but respecting that we have a different opinion, and respecting that you can have a different opinion, I can have a different opinion, and we can talk that out. And that is a show of love, right? Right.
And I think it's got to be fun.
Oh my gosh.
We have so much fun with the family. And I raised my kids kind of the opposite, where I'm friends with my 2 boys. I mean, they know who's in charge. Okay. And some of this framework I got from the Army. I was in the Army for 10 years. I had the distinct privilege of leading troops, and some of the best memories of my life. Phenomenal, right? But it taught you how can you be in charge? How can you be the troop commander, but also have super close relationships with those soldiers? Consider them friends, right? without it being insubordinate. And that's kind of, I left my dad's way behind, and I kind of took that soldier mentality, and that's how I raised my kids.
And I learned a lot from you on that, becoming friends with your
Right.
kids. I learned a ton there from you.
But I think when your kids are from age 5 or 6 years old up until 11 or 12, that is when they are absolutely the most moldable, and they are watching everything, right? And I do think just showing that love and respect and fun and joy around them, okay, I think really meant a lot. But especially as we blended families, and that's any of you out there that have advice on that, you can DM us or whatever, or if you need advice, I think we could help.
Things are not just taught, they're more caught, right? And then the last, on the growth plan is they would be sought out after. But one thing, I think I learned how to be friends with my children, with all the kids from you. And I think one thing that I brought into the relationship is that there are things that you do, acts of service in the household out of respect, and that also shows love, right? When it's time, when you've stayed over, maybe now you're visiting, you're going to strip the bed, right? These little actions, you're going to put in time on cooking a meal for the family, or you're going to take out the garbage. There's expectations around the house. I don't want to call them chores, but just things that run a home, and that also shows love, right?
Yep.
Like teaching Henry and Harrison that, okay, now we're going to do dishes together, when you're at someone's house, and not just Henry and Harrison, all the kids, right? When you're at someone else's home, there's no maid, okay?
Right.
We are self-sufficient. We all contribute. It is our responsibility, not just for the family, but for the good of the order, is to contribute.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, I think that was really maybe something that I expected a little bit more.